So it's here. Valentine's Day is coming up tomorrow, so it's time to think about your loved ones.
And one way you can show you care is talking about oral health. Joining us now for the sponsored interview is Dr. Heath Hendrickson. And doctor, a lot of times when we think about Valentine's Day, we're eating lots of candy.
Yeah, right. It's Valentine's Day, and then like 6 months later, we do Halloween, and that's great for dentists, right? Keeps us in business all year long. It's that time of year. You know, it's funny because like a lot of things, all sweets are not created equal, right? And there are some sweets that honestly seem to, you know, our bodies seem to manage a little better than others. So maybe just to mention a few things. Good news is that chocolate is probably one of those things that you can enjoy in moderate amounts and have less trouble than other sweets.
In terms of cavities.
Yeah, in terms of cavities. That's what I'm talking about. Because really,
you're going to mention the treats that I like that aren't good for you.
Yeah, you know, it's the sticky ones, right? It's the caramels and the Tootsie Rolls. And, you know, when we were kids, it was the sugar daddies, right? And the sugar babies and things like that. I don't know if those are around anymore.
Oh my gosh, you can't get them out of your teeth.
Even Jolly Ranchers you mentioned are horrible for your teeth.
For a whole other reason, right? They're sweet, but they're so hard. I mean, we see a lot of broken and fractured teeth from sugar, you know, those hard suckers and Jolly Ranchers and things like that. Our teeth are just not designed to take, you know, those kind of forces. But chocolate tends to be pretty soft, right? Melts in your mouth, and it will dissolve. And just with a little water, you know, you can rinse your mouth, and that's, you know, it's on its way, right? So I guess the good news maybe is chocolate's a better option.
All right, so if you are brushing your teeth after eating chocolate or any kind of candy, which you should, you have some tips to make it more effective and not get cavities?
I do. I'm going to blow things up a little bit with this suggestion, but I'm telling you, I learned this a long time ago, and it's based in the science, and it works. Typically, when we think about brushing our teeth, we think about brushing them after we've had sweets, and that's a good idea, right? Because you want to get them out of your mouth. However, a little science here for you. When bacteria in your mouth, we all know what they do is they eat the sugar that you eat, and then they create acid, and the acid dissolves your teeth and causes the cavity, okay? But bacteria, they're an interesting little organization. They can't just appear in your mouth and make acid. They have to get together in families and create an organizational structure on your teeth, and this takes time, okay? So here's the moral of the story. If they don't have time to form that organization, they can't create the acid to destroy your teeth. So typically, I will recommend to my patients that when they wake up first thing in the morning, they brush before they eat. Because the idea is, if those bacteria have been in your mouth all night, they've organized, now you drink that orange juice or you take that sweet drink or whatever, immediately the bacteria drop acid onto your teeth. But if you have brushed your teeth before you leave the bathroom in the morning, you drink that orange juice, there's no organized bacteria to create acid to drop on your teeth.
The family hasn't had time to get together.
They haven't had time to get together. It's called organization. It's something that's required. They have to create their colony, and then they have time to destroy your teeth.
I feel like we've debated this. Haven't we on the show? Do you brush before you eat or after? And the answer is before.
Now, there's advantages to brushing after, but I'm telling you what, if it's been 8 to 10 hours and you haven't brushed, and you eat sweets, and I'm telling you what, patients who will do that, who will brush before, now good, then you've got all the way till lunch, even till dinner, then brush again in the evening. Right now, we don't want to be leaving, you know, gunk on our teeth at night when we go to bed, right? So, you know, brush before bed. But there ought to be some rationale about why you brush and when you brush. And from a standpoint of acid destroying your teeth, the bacteria make them before is actually...
I even heard it explained like that before.
But I love the organization, the science behind it. Okay, we have to talk about your deals and why this is an important weekend.
because I don't even fix cavities anymore.
I know. Okay, we're talking about wisdom teeth. Why is this weekend maybe the prime time to get it done?
This is always a great time to come get your wisdom teeth out. You need 3 to 5 days to heal afterwards, and President's Day weekend, kids are off on Monday, and so these weekends tend to be fairly busy for us. We do still have openings, especially in our Provo location. Okay. We do have some in Salt Lake, but we're always looking to get the word out that
even
now's
this
the time.
last minute, we have time.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Wisdom teeth will start hurting at the most inopportune time. So the time to take care of them is when you can arrange your schedule and it works for you, rather than waiting until you're on your way to Lake Powell or you're on your way to Disneyland. And we see this all the time. They're going to Lake Powell next week, but the kids' teeth are hurting. Yeah, I got to get them.
Okay, there's a deal that you're offering. Okay, $100.
$100 off, yep, if you for cash patients. And we honor that on our insurance patients too, but insurance patients already pay gosh, next to nothing.
Because you want to help families out there.
Absolutely,
Mention GTU for $100 off your wisdom teeth appointment. Of course, you're on Instagram and TikTok. DrWisdomTeeth.com. I love the commercial so much when the patient goes, let's get started, and you say,
we're
already
done.
That's my daughter, Faith. She turned 17 last week. Yep.
Oh, no
Happy
way.
birthday,
I love
Happy
it.
birthday, Faith.
All right, get those appointments in, and thanks again to Wisdom Teeth Only for sponsoring this interview.